today we're gonna make two Asian-inspired street food breakfast sandwiches. They're healthy-ish and insanely delicious, like most of my recipes. The first of it is a Korean street toast or a gilgori toast, which basically has an egg omelet of sorts with cabbage, carrots, and a bunch of different spices in between two slices of bread. And the second one is a Bombay toast, which is basically a savory Indian French toast, and both of them are amazing. If that sounds good to you, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the little bell notification so that you can know when I release new videos every Friday. Now let's get started. So first, we're going to start with the gilgori toast, which, as I mentioned, is basically an egg omelet with a bunch of vegetables and spices in between two slices of bread. It is a Korean street food favorite, and I had it for the first time when I visited Seoul a couple of years ago, and it was amazing. Start by adding a cup of shredded cabbage into a mixing bowl, followed by a julienne carrot, roughly of a medium size. Then add a diced shallot or a fourth of a red onion, followed by 1 to 2 diced green onions, and give all of this a very quick stir. Season this vegetable mixture with a teaspoon each of salt, followed by ground black pepper, as well as Korean gochugaru. Gochugaru are Korean red chili flakes, basically, but then they have all of these really amazing spice notes in them, which are slightly different than the traditional red pepper flakes you'd get at the grocery store. However, if you don't have access to gochugaru, you can totally substitute it for red pepper flakes or even a pinch of red chili powder, whatever you have available. Paprika, cayenne, all of those things work. Give the vegetables a quick stir to mix in the seasoning, and then crack 2 large eggs into the same mixing bowl. So 2 things to note on the egg usage over here. Firstly, if you're vegan or you don't eat eggs, then using an egg substitute like just egg works amazing in this recipe. We're going to be using 2 eggs for the recipe, so that is approximately a third a cup, I would say, of a regular just egg bottle. I know the 2 eggs for a single sandwich feels like a lot, but I tend to use pretty large rustic loaves of bread. And so I actually quite like the creaminess that the eggs provide. However, if you want a slightly less eggy toast, I would recommend scaling it down to just 1 egg per sandwich. Using a spatula or a wooden spoon, break the yolks and then stir to combine the vegetables with the egg mixture. As always, I'm going to use my trusted enameled cast iron skillet to make this recipe. But if you don't have enameled cast iron, I suggest using a non-stick skillet so that the eggs don't stick to the bottom of the pan. Start by adding a tablespoon of butter to the skillet on medium heat. Once the butter has melted, add the vegetable and the egg mixture to the cast iron skillet, and then use your spatula to shape it into a rough rectangular or a square side by pushing in the edges towards the center. This should roughly be the same size as the bread slice. After 3 or so minutes, flip the egg mixture so that the other side can cook. The cooked side should now be roughly golden brown in color. Use your spatula to tuck in any loose vegetables. Cook for another 3 minutes and then remove your egg mixture to a plate. So one note on the bread for both of these recipes. I typically try to use some kind of a rustic large slice of loaf, like a sourdough bread or something similar. However, the best bread to use is whatever you have on hand. Just make sure that it's a little bit sturdy so it can actually hold either the egg wash for the Bombay toast or the omelet in between the slices for the Korean toast. Start by buttering one side of the slice of bread and then place the buttered side down flat on the skillet. Add another tablespoon of butter or so to the skillet so that the toast can cook evenly. Toast it to your desired level of brownness. Next, add about a teaspoon of gochujang paste to a tablespoon of mayonnaise and whisk using a fork or knife until it forms a smooth aioli. Gochujang is the sister of the gochugaru that we just talked about a while ago, and it is a Korean fermented red chili and bean paste of sorts. It is a condiment that is used in a lot of different types of Korean cooking, and when paired with the creaminess of a mayonnaise, it just makes the best aioli or a condiment for a sandwich. If you don't have gochujang on hand, you can just use mayo and that works just fine. Or you can substitute with a hot sauce of your choice like sriracha or really any other hot sauce and add it to the mayo and give it a good whisk. It will taste a little bit different because gochujang has like these really faint kind of sweet notes as well as savory notes. However, any of those aiolis will work in the sandwich. Finally, it's now time to assemble this toast. Place 2 slices of cheddar cheese on one of the slices of toast and then top it with the Korean egg omelet. Then slather the gochujang mayo aioli on the Korean omelet and cover with the other slice of toast. Return this to the skillet and cook for about 30 seconds or so, basically to warm both sides of the toast. And press down, and you're done. I like slicing my toast into 2 triangular halves in order to enjoy it. All right, so next up, we're about to make Bombay toast, which is basically kind of a French toast that's made in India, and it's a very common street food. I've seen it made both savory or sweet, but today we're gonna go with the savory version. And the best part of this is that it's typically meant to be a way to use up leftovers. So for instance, a lot of times in Indian households, they'd use stale bread for this recipe, which is all kinds of win on the zero waste front as well, but it is also all kinds of nostalgia as I think back to my childhood in India. So to make this recipe, you're gonna need a bowl that's gonna be wide enough to hold whatever slice of bread you've picked. If you picked a small slice, you're fine with most bowls, but I am using kind of a big-ish bowl because my slices are pretty rustic. So we're gonna make an egg mixture with a bunch of things thrown into it. We're gonna dip the bread into that egg mixture and then we're gonna, toast it on a pan. But now I'm actually going to let you in on my secret for getting perfectly whisked eggs. Do not do it in a bowl, instead use a glass. Start by cracking 3 large eggs into a tall enough glass. And then use a fork to basically whisk until the eggs are fully disintegrated and the yolks are creamy. Pour this into a mixing bowl, followed by 3/4 a cup of milk, and then use a whisk to combine. Once they're combined, add a diced jalapeno, and this can either keep the seeds or not, followed by 1/4 a diced red onion, and then finally 1 to 2 tablespoons of chopped cilantro. Use a whisk again to combine this. Now it's time to season. I usually add about 2 tablespoons of cheddar, shredded, as well as a teaspoon each of salt and pepper, and then use a whisk to combine again. All right, back to our cast iron skillet. You want to cook this on low to medium heat, because if you cook on high heat, then you run the risk of toasting or burning the bread quite quickly without cooking the eggs, which is no bueno. I try to keep the heat below the halfway mark whenever possible. Start by adding a tablespoon of butter to the cast iron skillet on medium heat or so. Then place a slice of bread into your egg wash mixture and then use a fork in your hands to press down so it's fully covered. Also spoon some of the jalapeno, onions, and cheese on one of the sides. If you've made French toast before, you know that judging the bread to egg ratio is more art than science, to be honest. You want it to get fully drenched, but not quite soggy. However, this recipe is quite forgiving, so don't get too anchored on it. Just have fun. Carefully place the toast onto your cast iron skillet and then allow it to cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. You can spoon some more jalapenos and red onions on top, and then flip to the other side. The cooked side should be golden brown, and allow this to cook for about 3 more minutes, and your Bombay toast is done. You can always top off with a little bit more cheddar or any other cheese of your choice if you want, or you can just dig right in. So there you go. You now have 2 healthy-ish Asian-inspired breakfast sandwich options. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, as well as the bell notifications so you'll find out when I release new videos like this every week. Toodles!